we're already kind of trying to get ahead of it and then asked our city departments to say, what if 10% of your budget was, reduced? What does that mean for you? And so that means, less in maintenance. And for us, 70% of our general fund is public safety. And so we're talking about police and fire and emergency medical professionals that we have to look at, seeing a reduction in. And so
pull up a chair, bring the vision you're chasing. Look over the blueprints, years in the making. From planning to progress and growth that will last. Come on, let's build and enable at the inside table. At the inside table.
Hey, my name's Tim. Thank you for clicking on this today and listening to us. We've just been happy to have conversations around real estate development and construction has been my passion for years. So here at Veritas, we're also passionate about that. And so what you're going to hear is just some general conversations that we've had about certain topics within this framework over the last several months. We hope you enjoy these. We hope you came to learn today. If you need some more information, we'll get you some information at the end of this as we close this thing out. But enjoy this conversation. So, hey, thank you, Mayor, for joining us today. I appreciate it. You know me, we've met a couple times. I don't know you as well as some of my team does. I know you've been working with Andrea and Jack from our Veritas team. But what we're doing, just so you know, is we're putting people on and trying to get our elected official, our clients on specifically, but even some of that aren't our clients, right? Talking to people across the state of Indiana about what's going on in your community. So today is going to be about you and about Evansville, right? And we can talk about whatever you want to talk about. So there's no real set agenda. I know you're excited about being the mayor there. This has been a long time, not a long time dream for you, but something that's come true. So what I'd love to start with is have you, if you could, just give us, me and the listening audience, whoever that is in the future, to how did you ever become mayor? Like, how did this happen for you? Like, what was your journey to get here? And introduce yourself a little bit. That'd be great.
well, sure. Well, I'll tell you, the journey was, you know, very unique. I am a longtime Evansville resident, and my background is a mix of nonprofit work as well as government service, and then just community volunteerism. And I grew up watching my parents, serve others. So that's all I knew. And so when I graduated from college, I knew I wanted to come back home and to give back. And so I immediately came home after college. And just shortly, maybe a year or two after I was home, I ran for school board in my 20s. I wasn't successful then, but really stayed involved in the community, and then was approached about running for city council. Ran for city council, was unsuccessful at that time, but again, stayed involved. People knew my name, and I was approached many years later about filling a vacant seat on our Vanderbilt County Council. And so I was caucused in and served in that capacity for about 13 years.
Okay.
And then, the former mayor just in 2023 said, I'm not running anymore. He had served for 12 years, and so there was an opportunity. I had always said that I knew that there was something more that I was supposed to do, and I didn't imagine that it would be a mayor of a city, but it was opportunity. And so I took a leap of faith and decided to run. And really, that's how I'm here. And I think I bring a unique perspective because I spent so many years in the nonprofit sector. To come into this office, I'm really laser focused in on what people truly need. And I hope that I'm serving in a way that people feel seen and heard in our community. So.
Yeah, that's a great story. So I remember going to your inaugural ball. I was there. We had actually opened a soft open our office in Evansville, and I think we did the full opening maybe the summer after. So the summer of 24 that we did that. But we had already been in Evansville doing some projects in the area. And so when you were elected and you had your inaugural ball, we showed up. I brought my wife down, and we had a really good time kind of going through that whole thing. So, but there was a big emphasis at that ball, and I wanted you to talk about this a little bit, which was your election was a momentous point for the city of Evansville, right? And I think for a lot of different reasons. Can you, talk about some of that? You're very proud of that, and you should be, right, frankly. So what does that mean? What does your election for the city of Evansville mean?
Well, honestly, I mean, to be the first woman, and to be the first African American to serve in this position in our city's 200 plus year history, it's very humbling for one.
Sure.
And we talk a lot about having representation and having diverse voices at the table. This is a showing that our community has grown. I had an interview just the other week, and we were standing. We have a wall of mayors just outside my office, and the news reporter asked me, he says, how do you feel about one of these former leaders of our city was a member of the Ku Klux Klan? And I said, "Wow, one, I didn't know that." So I was a little bit
Yeah,
shocked. But at that moment, I was like, "Gosh, we have come so far, and we've
absolutely.
got a ways to go." But the reality is, this is an extreme privilege for me to serve as mayor, and I don't take it lightly. I take the responsibility very seriously, and I hope that I serve the people of Evansville well, and put myself in a position that people are proud to not only celebrate what we accomplished, but the fact that there's a black woman and a woman in this seat.
No, I think it's fantastic, not just for you, but obviously for the city of Evansville.
Yeah,
I've got some.
and
I don't
it,
know if you know this. I have some old family ties there. My grandmother was there. Both my parents went to U of E, so we come back to that with a lot of fondness and understanding of. I mean, I spent a lot of time as a youth visiting grandparents and things there in Evansville, so it holds a special place for us for
yeah, and
sure.
it's special too. That um, little girls are inspired to see somebody that looks like
Yes.
them in this office, and those probably are some of my most special moments that I've had in these first 2 years. Is just the interactions with young girls, and their response and believing that they could be mayor one day.
I think that's great. So, Mayor, let's shift a little bit and move to what is your vision? You've laid it out a couple different times. Like what do you see as kind of your key motivating points for 2026 and beyond? You got 2 more years left of your current term before
Yeah,
the whole reelection cycle starts, and I think there's a lot of people hoping that you run for reelection. As we
yeah.
always say, mayors are always running for reelection unless they say they're
It's
not,
safe.
right?
That's
So,
right.
so tell me what is your key focus for 2026 in Evansville?
Yeah, so for 2026 specifically, we're gonna, we feel like the first 2 years we laid the foundation. Now we're kicking into gear and really starting to see some things come to fruition. And so the top of our list has always been neighborhood revitalization, and I say that's three pronged in many ways. So we have extreme focus on housing. We set an ambitious goal to add 200 new housing units by the end of 2027, and so we're still, we're on course to do that. I think we're close to 600 new. We have had several conversations with, developers about, potential new projects. So
Sure.
housing is going to be a big piece of that. We also are in continuing investments in our parks and recreational facilities, and so we hope to see a few new aquatic features come online, whether that's splash pads or updates to some of our local pools, and then just other beautification efforts at our local green spaces. And we're doing a tremendous amount of investment there. We took out a $24 million bond a couple of years ago when we started. And that's really allowed us to address some of the deferred maintenance,
Oh, great.
that we have here in our city. We have 46, parks and recreational spaces, and so it's critical that we kind of get those up to a standard that people can be proud of. And I think the other piece of that is we've been doing blight removal, and so we set out a goal of 150 blighted properties that we wanted to see come down. We're about 75%, I think, yeah,
Oh, great.
75% of that goal. And so by the end of this year, I think we're going to reach our goal, which we're very excited about. And then we didn't want to leave that land vacant. And so we are then acquiring it through the land bank, and hopefully that we'll be able to get that into use by new development, working with private and nonprofit developers. So I'm really excited about the neighborhood revitalization work. And then the other piece of that has been public safety. We this year, mid-year, actually this July, our fire department is bringing emergency medical services in-house. And so, we're setting up shop to really take on, a big part of that service in our city, which is huge. And so I'm excited about that. We'll open a new fire station later this year. And we're looking at, many ways, again, how we can improve and create a safer Evansville. And I think that's one way that we hope to do that in reducing response times and really offering high quality service. And then the other things is just really looking at just quality of life, looking at, investments like whether, we're exploring a multi-sports complex and some other things that will help enhance the quality of life, like our River Vision plan. While it's a 20 to 30-year vision,
Yeah.
we are still taking steps right now. We're in the design phase, the schematic design phase, and looking to brand that in a way that we're able to fundraise and do some of the work to help move that project along. So a lot of exciting work happening in Southern Indiana for sure.
Well, there's no doubt that you're not busy, right? We know that you're
No
busy.
doubt.
So I know my team, both Andrea and my office down there that runs our local Evansville office, and of course Jack here have been working with you guys. And I'd love you to spend a couple minutes talking about this Blue Ribbon Commission, because I
Sure.
think this is a story that I brought this up to Mayor Whitfield, your counterpart here in Lawrence. She did the podcast a couple of weeks ago. Lovely lady, speaks very highly of you too. So,
Yes, she's
but
awesome.
knowing I told her about this Blue Ribbon Commission. She goes, I need to call Mayor Terry. Like, I need to have this conversation. So tell our audience a little bit about the Blue Ribbon Commission, what the purpose of it is, and what you guys are hoping to accomplish through this.
Yeah, so probably the first year we convened, the Blue Ribbon Committee. We're very thoughtful about the folks around the table. We had city employees like our area plan commission, our city engineer and some others, as well as investors and developers were at the table. We had trades at the table, but we wanted a diverse group of individuals because we hear the same thing over and over. It's not Evansville's not business friendly, and I think probably every mayor hears that, in some way or
Probably.
another. But we wanted to be intentional, about the steps that we were going to take to really streamline the process. And so we were able to do that. We were to gather feedback from these committee members, and then Veritas Group really helped us, look at kind of the strengths and weaknesses in our system. And when it talks about, developing a project or seeing a project from start to finish, and we have a full plan that we can, really start checking down the list on things that we can do better. We're actually going to be working with some of our local builders here very soon, and we're going to do a walkthrough myself and probably the deputy mayor, and actually just go with them. We're gonna, an observation,
Good.
and from start to finish, walk them, through an experience so that we have firsthand knowledge about what our folks are feeling and experiencing when we're dealing with city officials. And so um, that exercise, along with some of the recommendations from various group, I think is really going to position us to really set up shop where we can say, number one, we have one key person. When you want to come do business with the city of Evansville, you know where to go. There's no confusion about whether you go to the city itself or down to our economic development
Sure.
organization. It's just going to have a clear roadmap. And then the other thing is how we communicate that. Right now, we know on our website, which we're working on to update, you can't find um,
Yeah.
the process. There's no flow chart of I want to open up, commercial business or any, there's no direction. And so we want to be sure that we articulate that in the right way so that it's clear about we're ready and, for folks to come to Evansville and set up shop. So I'm excited about the work that we've been able to do. And Veritas has been tremendous in supporting us and doing that. And now it's just about execution more than anything.
On August 13th, the Veritas Group is hosting the Insight Summit 2026 at the Alexander Hotel in downtown Indianapolis. This is a one-day in-person gathering designed for mayors, city and county officials, planners, engineers, economic development leaders, and community advocates who are actively shaping Indiana's future. The day is built around real-world insight from Veritas Group-led projects across the state, focusing on what's actually working in infrastructure, public space development, and economic growth. Whether you're driving capital projects, navigating growth challenges, or building strategic partnerships, attendees will leave with actionable insights, expanded networks, and a clearer vision for delivering lasting community impact. Learn more and register at theveritasgroup.com/insight.
I heard too that you guys are going to be one of our pilot projects for our Invest certified groups, which
Yes.
is awesome. So we're excited to have you as part of that program. We think that's going to bring exposure to a lot of communities throughout the state of Indiana. But we certainly and showing how people like yourself and take these communities and make them development or investment ready, right? How are we investment
Yeah.
ready for what we're doing? So pretty excited about having you on that pilot program for us and being a part of that. So let's shift a little bit if we can in let's I hope to might not darken the mood too much, but I've had all the mayors on that we've talked to talking about SCA one,
Yeah.
and what is that going to do, in your opinion, to your budget and your community there in Evansville? Because I think a lot of people were very confused about this property tax bill.
Yeah, I mean, we have we've done some work. We had Reedy Financial, kind of do an analysis for us, and we anticipate definitely there's going to be a reduction in the potential revenue that we receive. And I think every city is saying that same thing. And so as we think about kind of the next year, we're already kind of trying to get ahead of it and asked our city departments to say, what if 10% of your budget was, reduced? What does that mean for you? And so
Yeah,
that means, less in maintenance. And for us, 70% of our general fund is public safety. And so we're talking about police and fire and emergency medical professionals that we have to look at, seeing a reduction in. And so I don't think that's a direction we want to move,
right.
especially when, we're already pretty strained. And I think we're doing a lot more with less already. And so really thinking about that moving ahead is going to be important. I'm hopeful still that our state legislature will make some changes to the
Yeah.
bills to make sure it's right for cities because we don't want to, you know, again hinder the work and the city services we're able to offer that people expect from us every single day.
Yeah, I appreciate that answer. And every time I've asked this question, I get a similar answer, which I think is just shows the resiliency of the Hoosier state and Indiana in general. Hey, we know this is going to take an effect, but we're going to adapt and we're going to change and we're going to make it as good as we can make it, whatever it is. And we're going to continue to lobby on behalf of the cities and towns across the state of Indiana. So I don't know that we need to drill down too much more on that. I think you gave a great answer on that topic in general. Are there any other things that you want to talk about today that are like, I'm super excited about this thing? You mentioned your vision, which is awesome. Are there projects coming to Evansville that you want to? Hey, this is really happening. Like we're starting to see really good things happen here. So, talk to me a little bit about what's the exciting thing on the horizon for you in the city of Evansville.
Ooh, I was, so I think there are a number of exciting things. Of course, we have a lot of, because of the Ready program, across the state, we've been able to make some significant investments there from housing, sports, facilities. So we're really looking at, how we can improve quality of life. And we think that's a great place, number one, to attract new talent, but also to retain the talent that we have in our community. So really excited about those projects that are on the horizon. And then also some of the arts and culture work that investments we're going to be able to make. So looking at, whether we'll be able to bring back Mesker Amphitheater or a new amphitheater is some of the things that we're excited about looking ahead.
That's awesome. We are so invested in Evansville ourselves. We bought one of the buildings down on Main Street, put our office in there, and have some other tenants. And super excited about what the city. I know this was before you, but super excited about what the city did in that whole downtown district with the Ford Center there, and all those different spaces and that kind of winding one way up into it. So there's a lot more coming downtown. I know you've got the CRG project that's going to be
Yeah.
probably opening either later this year, early next year, right? As part of that, and there's a lot more people being downtown, which I think is going to be awesome for you guys. Super excited about kind of walking alongside there. And I don't want to skip over this. You mentioned nonprofit, but you were the director, if I'm not mistaken, of the Children's Museum there for
Yes.
several years. Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about that gem that's in your community? Because I know everybody talks about the Children's Museum in Indianapolis, but I don't want to skip over the fact that you were the leader of this really cool little space. And I've walked into it a couple of times in Evansville. Can you talk about that just for a couple seconds?
Oh yeah, sure. I'll tell you, it's one of our great community assets. We have some great museums in our community. The Children's Museum is one of those places, and it's such a unique place because it's a hands-on learning environment for our kids, but they get to play while they're there. And
That's right.
so it's they've done a tremendous amount of investment. I think before I left, we launched a major capital campaign, and our goal was $6 million. We raised about 5 million of that before I left, and so just
Awesome.
recently I was cutting the ribbon on some of the improvements that have already been made, and so we're at that point. Exhibits, they age pretty quickly, and so they're revamping the entire museum in some way. And so excited about that being a place that, number one, children and families can go to, and hopefully, others that are coming into our city see it as a key attraction when they're visiting the city. So excited about where they're headed, as well as so many of our other museums as well.
Yeah, it's got to be a cool experience for you having been there for so long, right?
Yes.
And then coming back as the mayor and being able to cut the ribbon on the stuff that you were part of the planning on.
Yeah. I
So
actually cried, I think. So walking
I
in
would
there.
imagine I imagine I would have too, right? So,
So
hey, we're almost wrapping it up here. So tell me, if anybody listening to us wants to come to Evansville, what are the things that they must see or must do in the city of Evansville?
must see or must do. Goodness. It depends on the time of year. So, because
Okay,
if it was October, I would say you've got to be sure that you hit up our fall festival. It's the second largest street festival, in the country, and so you've got tons of nonprofits and churches that are vendors. There's a parades. There's street parades. So it's an awesome community event. During the summer, we've got music in the park that's put on by our Evansville Parks Foundation. There's so many things. We have great restaurants and bars here in the community, very unique. Haney's Corner, our arts district, is a great place to go for during the summer when you get our first Fridays, and you've got vendors set up, and then music and entertainment. So it's really lively in our community. If you're going downtown, I think there are a number of great shops downtown and boutiques that you can visit.
thank you for all that. And Mayor, is there anything else you want to say? I mean, you have anything else you'd like to just leave our listeners with a parting gift from Evansville?
Ah, no, again, I thank you again for this, have an opportunity to chat with you today. And I think more than anything, we're a city that's on the move, and we're going to continue to make sure that we make critical investments in the city of Evansville that support families and children so that they can be at their best as we continue to move forward and grow here in Southern Indiana.
Well, again, thank you for being on today.
Thank you.
Congratulations to all the progress you guys have made. Thank you for including our team as part of that. I think we can still have some work to do with you, and what we're going to help you guys cross the finish line as best we can. But excited for Evansville. We're excited to invest there ourselves. We're excited for our people. We want to grow our team there and do more work there in that whole region, frankly, right, as we kind of grow and build into those spaces. So, Mayor, thank you for taking some time today. I know you're a busy person, so I certainly want to get you back to your daily work. But thank you for being on our podcast today.
Thank you so much.
Hey, thanks for listening today. Thanks for clicking on this and diving in a little bit deeper. We hope you learned something today. And if you did, or you want more information, please reach out to us. We'll be happy to connect you with the right people to get you the answers that you need. But really help you leave with one thing in mind, is that our goal here at Veritas is to renew communities through great projects and great people. I think all of these conversations have shown that in some way or another. So thanks for listening today, and catch up with us next time.